Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic this morning is the massacre at Blacksburg, Virginia, at Virginia Tech. And of course we have with us to talk about this massacre at Blacksburg, Virginia, Dr. CPoe, who is a psychiatrist in Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Dr. Poe, let me welcome you to the show this morning. And to say, Dr. Poe, there's no way that we can talk about your background in education without reminding our audience that you've been with us at least 14 times, and that each time that you come, we get the same kind of information from you in reference to that. But there might be some small element of the population who might not know Dr. CPoe, and let's have you, from that point of view, give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of leading you to where we are today. And let me remind our audience, too, that what we're going to talk about today is the massacre at Blacksburg, but you also gave us some excellent information about the 911 situation, and over the years we've had an opportunity to see all of it come to fruition. So go on, give us some information, then we'll talk about this massacre.
Yes, Dr. Haney, I'm a Christian psychiatrist and minister of the gospel. I pastored at different times 2 churches here in Nashville. At the present time, I'm in private practice here in Nashville, Tennessee. I also coordinate a radio program called Forgiveness Today. It's on 880 AM WNSG radio every Monday from 11 to 11:45. Also, back in 1998, I organized a committee, a group that we called a Committee for the Study of Violence. We went into the Metro Jail and did some research there. So at the present time, I'm in private practice. I'm also a published author and anticipate publishing another book very, very soon.
Very good. And so you're still involved and very, very involved in doing things spiritual as well as psychological in terms of whatever situation you're in.
Yes.
Whether you're dealing with an institution or whether you're in private practice. Yes. And of course, Dr. Poe, one of the things that has happened over the last few days, as you know, and as the entire world knows, is that tragic event at Blacksburg, Virginia, the Virginia Tech University. And what we'd like to do is to talk about that and to have you, in a real sense, give you an opportunity to simply use all of your experiences in dealing with this and to talk to us about it and give us some kind of explanation as to how and why this could have ever happened.
Well, a friend of my brother in Atlanta, Georgia, once said, and as a matter of fact, he finished Massacre, he said once, isolation is suicide. Now, what he was really saying was that people who are severely isolated are much more prone to end their life. But I think that we see in CPoe1, we see that isolation for him was very severe. His roommate said that he didn't talk to them at all. He had no friends. He was never seen with anybody. His isolation was indeed severe. And not only did it lead to suicide, but it led to multiple homicides. So social isolation, isolation from people, spiritual isolation, not having a growing relationship with Christ, those 2 isolations very often will lead to severe disturbance and oftentimes suicide and or homicide.
And so it's a real problem. Now, do you think that this is a prevalent problem in America, that people are, in many instances, living their lives like this young man lived his life, that isolated?
Absolutely, very, very much so. I think perhaps one of the most prevalent problems we have in our nation, Dr. Haney, is spiritual isolation, even more than social isolation, but both spiritual and social isolation.
Speak to both those.
Well, okay. Having been created by God for the purpose of seeking Him and for the purpose of living a life pleasing to Him, which involves loving others as God loves me, said another way, doing unto others as I would have them do unto me, unless I'm making some effort to do that, then I'm not going to have the kind of relationship, okay, with Christ that God desires that I have, okay? So then not having that kind of relationship, I'm going to be isolated, okay? I'm going to be isolated from God. I'm going to be isolated from other people. And so that means I'm going to be in a condition of despair. And that means I'm going to have deep feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness, powerlessness, and often the wish to end my life and often the wish to end somebody else's life as well. And so I think we see this in Cho Sing-Wee. We see the depth of his despair, the depth of his isolation, and the depth of his very, very low self-esteem. I'm convinced that this young man had been isolated for a long time, and I think it was contributed to partially by the teasing that I understand that he experienced in high school, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a fair amount of teasing at Virginia Tech as well.
And of course, Dr. Poe, let us have this first commercial break, and then after we come back, we'll continue this. We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. We're talking to Dr.